streaming through the digital night. Jim Bustle, he's guiding the light, unveiling mysteries of the unknown, UFOs in the alien zone. He's a man on a mission, exploring ancient secrets, it's his addiction. Debating, discussing with his loyal crew. Cosmic conversations, unveiling the truth.
Everyone, welcome back to another episode. Here we are once again. Yes, tea in hand. GALENTV, sir, welcome.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Everyone, and Jim.
Yes, rabbit drunk. Did you? People dribble in. Yes. Konnichiwa. Yes.
Konnichiwa.
This is very konnichiwa, isn't it? The fucking background.
Konbanwa.
Yeah, my heavens. Yes. You can speak some Japanese, can't you, GALENTV?
That was about the extent of it. I think that means good evening.
That's more than I could speak, so there you go. To me, you can speak Japanese.
There was a period where I could maybe speak a little bit of broken, but that's been a few years. That's been since a few years.
In some time. Well, this evening, talk about some metaphysics. Metaphysical things, maybe some ontological discussions here. The afterlife. What made you thought of this topic, GALENTV? Extreme mood, drunk. Buckle up. You're hanging around. Yeah. What made you think of this topic?
Well, a few things. I was kind of thinking about just the nature of, not necessarily death or the afterlife, but just, the finality. So, share like a little bit of what's happening. We had to put down her dog on Friday, so she was an old dog, but we had to put her down, and then I'm in the middle of a career transition myself, and was thinking of the coming to end of that, and then when I woke up on Saturday morning, I felt like I was going to die, and then I thought, okay, well, there's death again, and
we were playing some Magic, and yes, condolences again for the loss of your animal. It's a very hard it's a very hard thing, dogs especially. I'm not a cat person, I don't get cats as much, but dogs, it's hard. So we had some celebratory drinks during Magic, and we both are. I'm still feeling the effects, honestly, to some degree.
Yeah, me too. Just a little bit today.
This is what it is, This is a hit.
Yeah. Well, it's like kind of weird. So I think she had I think it was what they discovered was she had like a brain tumor, and so she in the morning couldn't stand up, and then she kind of started panicking, and then have you ever had an animal that was in the midst of dying?
Yes, our dog, our family dog, she had Lyme disease, and we didn't know.
Dear.
Yeah.
So it was kind of they're just in a panic, and you're kind of petting, you're visiting. That's kind of calming them down a little bit, and you're kind of just oh, they're having a moment here. It is not going to end good. This is probably it if they can't stand up. And but her mind had been kind of going a little bit. You had met her. Is the dog in question rather? It's a few weeks or a month ago or so, I think.
I'd probably met her a couple years before playing Magic, I'm assuming. Yeah, but yeah, I remember.
So she was pretty old. I mean, it was just a very sudden thing. Whereas sometimes with the pet, you're just God damn, they're just clinging to scraps, And I've kind of gone through this with many, many different animals. We've had a couple of cats that, or a few cats rather, that were in the throes of, in the midst of being in the end. And one of them, they had, I think it was kidney failure because they actually had diabetes.
That's what happened
the
with
cat we had.
my dog. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
Is that right?
She had kidney failure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just kind of like holding on to them, holding them. You know, there's like a kind of like maybe in like an unspoken bond, I guess. Maybe that's hubris on my part, if you will, if that's the right word for it. But yeah, kind of holding. There's like a moment of comfort, and then you're kind of just like, oh, this is the finality of it. But
yeah, it's a hard thing.
To go. Anyway, the career transition. I'm not gonna bore everybody with that. And then feeling like death on the morning. Well, that was our own doing.
That was 100%. That was the celebration. That was the send off, right? So that's the consequence, I guess. Is then you feel it's the good and it's the bad with liquor. That's the problem with liquor. That's why that's why this stuff here is. Although I don't really smoke that much weed anymore, but yeah. No, it's a heavy discussion, right? It's something that death is a part of life. It's a hard part of life, right? Losing people, animals, friends, family members. Dogs are effectively a family member. Having lost people, unfortunately, I mean, losing a dog is fucking up there. Let me tell you, it's up there with just people even. There's like an innocence to animals. With people, sometimes, depending upon how they die. I mean, obviously, you know, your relationships with them, and it's still very hard, but it's almost like there's such an innocence to animals. It's like it hurts a lot, you know, and I think that's definitely it's definitely a hard thing to go through. So yeah.
I just like a thought that I had right now. We kind of talked a little bit about this like a long time ago when we were talking about I can't remember how this came up, but we're essentially trying to discussing if a telepathic species could be like deceptive. So that's kind of like the thought with like animals is generally like animals are all surface. They might be able to be, some might be able to be deceptive, but generally like what you see, like you're going to see on the face of the animal or through the actions of their animal. They're not trying to, you know, whereas like people are kind of unique in that sense. Whereas like when one person says one thing, they might not be able to lie to you directly with body language, but they would, through communication or through like verbal communication, they may very well try to be deceptive. That might be where that innocence is coming from, because it's kind of like with like a young child, right? Or like the child's just like learning how to lie for the first time. They just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just kind of go like, oh, okay, that's kind of cute. In a way. We'll hope this doesn't get too far out of hand, but maybe that's just me because I don't know. I'm not great at lying. I consider myself like a particularly honest person. That being said, you know, if you need to tell a white lie, you can do that. But generally, I just usually go to refer to say nothing as opposed to say like an out lie.
That's
I find that's kind of where my personality is.
It's an honorable trait, not to deceive and lie. And
I don't know. There are times where it's definitely better to lie than just gotta say nothing.
Maybe, but
lie to someone's face.
Yeah, maybe.
The noble lie. Well, it's a very it's Plato is the noble lie.
Yes. Yeah. I think in regards to death in general, because that's what we'll kind of talk about. I think it's something that fascinated me very early on. It's one of the first things in philosophy that I became intrigued with were ontological conversations about God and what is God, and then that naturally moves into metaphysical discussions about, you know, well, if there's an afterlife, is there an afterlife? And that also is obviously tied in with theology, which is, you know, the study of different religions and their different belief systems and their metaphysics. And that was something that I was always really obsessed with as someone who grew up, you know, reading about woo things. Well, because UFOs are just woo, right? I mean, it just always was, and his abduction stuff is woo. And there was always so much bleed in from the abduction phenomena, just aliens in general, Because there's really two big questions, right, that people have to contend with, which is what happens when we die, and are we alone, right? And those are two big questions, and those they're intermingled. And reading through abduction accounts, well, there was John Mack, there was Travis Walton, or was Betty and Barney Hill, or a host of other encounters. But these kinds of things would come up because obviously, well, hypothetically, possibly, when these people were abducted, that was one of the first things that they asked them. They said, well, this answers one question. Here's the second question. Is there an afterlife? And they would say, well, kind of. In some of these instances. So anyway, so I always had I went looking for me, right? I went looking for answers. And I went looking for answers in metaphysical places, right? And so later on we can get into this, but I've mentioned Michael Newton's work before. He was a psychologist who did hypnotherapy, who had some very interesting metaphysical conversations with his clients. Supposedly was able to tap into some kind of superconscious state in people. And so that is from like the woo section. So I used to work at a bookstore when I was younger, helped set up Indigo Books here in Canada. And the store was open.
Is that right? You worked?
Yes.
I think I vaguely remember you saying that now.
Yeah, I worked, so me and some buddies, like at a high school, I went there, and some of my friends went there, and we helped build the store, put all the books in the shelves, and I worked there for maybe like 7 or 8 months. And I would usually work in the history section, and this is around I was getting into philosophy. I was like 18, 19. Yeah. And I would always, I had an interest in philosophy and Plato, and I would always go to the other section of books, which was no, I never went to the fucking fiction sections. I never went to the romance or although some of the manga, I would go to the manga section sometimes, but that's for other reasons.
That's a fiction.
It's kind of a fiction, but there would be these metaphysical books, kind of right beside the philosophy books. And one of the books that I saw, because I was looking for something, I was looking for answers, and I found Michael Newton's book, and I looked at the back, and I said, oh, an actual psychiatrist or psychologist, like an accredited one, who's talking about these kinds of things. And his book was called Journey of Souls, right? So that's a very woo-y kind of word. And I said, oh my God. And so I looked him up and did some research on him. I said, oh, this guy's very interesting. And I had gone through Dolores Cannon and all those people before, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I found his book anyway. So that's how I found his book. And then I found YouTube videos of him after. I went home and looked him up. And anyway, so we'll get into a little bit later. But I think some of his, it's interesting. There's no way to prove it without a doubt. But potentially he could have stumbled upon something very, very intriguing. I mean, it could have, really could have potentially, there's a possibility, unraveled a lot of things. Meaning of life, right? Reality. May take us some time to prove that, but it's the perspective's interesting. I think. Chad, welcome. Welcome. Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm not super surprised actually that you did not set foot in that fiction section. I kind of figured you would be into the high fantasy. Maybe not so much a Song of Fire and Ice, but maybe something along the lines of that.
I did read all of George Martin's books, actually, yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, I read through all of them. Oh, yeah. Well, he hasn't released the last one, but... Yeah. Oops. Yeah, I wasn't huge into fiction. I tried to read The Hobbit. Obviously, I love the movies. I love Tolkien's universe, but yeah, I was never really fucking...
Did you like the new Hobbits?
I loved it.
The new trilogy.
I loved it. I loved it. Yeah.
I think I watched the first one. I haven't seen the other two, and I don't know. I wasn't really impressed with the first one.
Oh, really? I love the vibe. I don't know. I mean, is it like high storytelling? Is it like the best? Is it like... It obviously wasn't the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I thought it was still...
That's what I wanted.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's obviously not...
there you go.
But it was still a great adventure. I don't know. It's even like the Rings of Power that's out right now. We still have to watch it, but I don't know. I didn't mind the first one. I thought it was okay. I don't know. I'm not too much of a critic when it comes to that stuff. Like if I enjoy it, it's good. If I don't enjoy it, then I'm like, it is what it is, right? So,
I mean, that's the practitioner's way. As soon as you're trying to look for technical stuff in it, I feel like you're starting to miss the point of what the movie is. But of course, we have a friend, Harry, who is very, very all about that. Although he does like to lose himself in the fantasy of it, though. But not to get too far off topic, I suppose.
Well, no, I mean, that's, but that's like, he knows movies and stuff. And I have a cousin who works in, well, he was working in film. He works in video games now. But he was always like, he'd written movie scripts. Like his intention when he was younger was to be the director. He went and got a master's in film, and he was like a film critic. Like he'd be like, give me the finest film, and I'd be like, when's the next Marvel movie coming out? Like, I want to get high as fuck and watch that in the movie theater. Like it's but it's like that's just. It's an form of entertainment for me. Like it's a smooth brain form of entertainment. I do like good movies, but we don't appreciate it. Like we don't see the finer details of things, right? He would see, or others would see. Yeah.
It's like we could have a fine talking movie, it just can't be 3 hours of talking.
Oppenheimer,
maybe 2 hours. So was Oppenheimer 3 hours of talking?
Oh yeah, Oppenheimer. Now what was fucked was that was very relevant to my interests. And man, it still was a fucking, oh my God, that was hard. But some people fucking loved it. They're like, man, this is a masterpiece. I was just like there should have been way more bomb detonations here. Like, where's the fucking explosion, right? Like, that's what I was waiting for the whole time, right? That's what everyone came for. And it just didn't really deliver.
You just wanted to see a series of atomic bomb tests go off leading up to the finale of the Tsar Bomba.
Oh, that would, if they finished that movie off as Tsar Bomba, that would have been fucking peak. 100% in my books. Big boom. Small booms and big boom. Yeah, but that obviously would have stretched out longer than I think the timeline of the film, but, whatever.
Yeah. Maybe they just need a movie. Maybe they need to get Michael Bay on this. Just have a series of explosions. That's the whole movie. It's just explosions. This was just first explosion in history. It was the Halifax Harbor. And this was the second explosion in history. And I don't know what the second one would be.
I think it was the first test. I'm pretty sure of the atomic bomb.
Well, that was supposedly what inspired the atomic bomb was the explosion in the Halifax Harbor.
That was the biggest explosion up until that point.
At the time. Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
Anybody who's not aware, in the early 1900s in the harbor of Halifax in Nova Scotia, in Canada, there was I can't remember what the explosion was caused by, but it was caused by, there was a ship that was docked, and around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, there was an explosion that ended up being, at that point in time, the largest recorded explosion in history, and that supposedly had led to the idea of led to the inception of the atomic bomb.
Yeah. Well, big booms. Big booms.
Big explosion.
I thought in Drunk I saw these things too. I'll maybe talk about these in a bit. Some of these things I saw. Giant triangle Aussies mind-blowing UFO encounter. I wanted to, so I have up here right now. This is somewhat relevant, I guess, but as we are both students of philosophy, the different areas of philosophy that kind of cover these things. So we say metaphysical all the time. But here's kind of a metaphysical perspective, I guess, on this. And I thought what I have up here actually be kind of interesting are some near-death experiences to read. There's a whole subreddit dedicated to near-death experiences. So I pulled up the most interesting ones. I mean, we could read through some of them, and that would be kind of an interesting cover to this. Because this is another area, right, which I thought was very interesting. So the first thing you would run into that you would see growing up on TV would be, oh my God, I was riding my bike and then some guy fucking pulled out in front of me. And next thing I know, like my body went flying and like I was still on my bike. And it's like, whoa. And you see your body fly across the pavement, fucking mangled all the fuck. And then you're like, oh, I'm outside of my body. Or the idea is that this is a near-death experience. And I was obsessed with NDEs. At first, because I thought they were so interesting. I was like, what is this? What is this phenomenon? People recollect these strange experiences where they'll be outside of their body. They'll be floating around an operating room. They can see themselves in the table. They're having a body experience. Some people will go as far as they're looking down at the operating room from this other place, and they've got these other people around them, and he's like, oh, this person's like my spirit guide or something, and they're telling me you have a choice. You can leave now, or if you want, we can put you back in. And these are examples of stories that I've read over the years, and there's tons of books that have been published about this as well. Actually, some fairly well-regarded people. I think there was one guy who was he a neurosurgeon? Some kind of specialist who had one himself and wrote about it. And I think he said something like he met Jesus. And now my problem with NDEs, obviously, is when this is all going on, when you're dying, your brain is going through a lot of trauma. In most of these cases, there's something traumatic that's happened. And there's a flood of DMT that happens in your brain. So, how valuable are these anecdotes? I think in the quantity that we find them, they paint an interesting picture. I don't know in specific examples how accurate this information would be. Firstly, because they are anecdotes from people. Secondly, these people have been subjected to a fuckload of trauma and might be tripping balls. So, anyway, with that aside, these are metaphysical things. What is metaphysics? What are metaphysical perspectives? It deals in the nature of existence and reality. Philosophers ask whether the soul or consciousness persists after physical death, and if so, in what forms. They may explore dualism, the idea the mind and body are distinct, versus physicalism, the idea that consciousness ceases with the brain's death. So isn't that the big debate? Yeah. What do you think, GALENTV?
There's one question that I always wondered about, and I guess somebody would be able to answer this. That there probably be somebody, but I don't know if he can just know this for sure at this point in time. He may very well be, but suppose you got hit in the head like really, really hard, and that effectively rendered you like
vegetable, borderline vegetable.
Not quite that, but like you weren't physically able to like express or move your body the way that you would want. I remember there was a video that I remember watching way back a long time ago about a fella that was in a car accident that it was like a texting driving like PS public service announcement, and the guy was talking about he couldn't move his hand. He had to spend his life pretty much perpetually in like physical therapy, and he couldn't like express himself, but he could recall how he used to live though. So I almost wondered like if internally in their inner monologue, assuming they're not an NPC, of course, that they would be perfectly coherent in their mind and they'd be able to figure this stuff out. It just doesn't translate to the body or to the expression. So if that's the case, then you would almost wonder if there was a sense of dualism at that point. Because then if you're able to if you're coherent in your mind, then but your body wasn't able to like effectively keep up with your mind, then wouldn't that suggest like a sense of dualism? On the other hand, if the body doesn't keep up with the mind, if that is the rate at which the mind is going, I guess you would say, then you would in fact say that dualism is unequivocally blown the fuck out.
Well, mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. You can break it into that, right? Or you got that. So, strange though, the NDA stories are so consistent among people who say nothing woo was on the radar beforehand. Yeah, no, it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting components to it, Will. Yeah, there's a mountain of anecdotal evidence for it, and there's no way to confirm it really one way or the other right now. But there is, and there are some more interesting accounts than others. I mean, there's stories again of people like, I met Jesus. He told me I was a good boy and I had never committed any sins. And then there's other people who maybe kind of are more grounded and detailed in their descriptions, and they're more honest, and they're not like, there's a lot of people having religious experiences there. And there's different communities of people like Christians that are trying to be like, oh my God, Jesus is real. Like I fucking met him. Oh my God, he's watching all of us. It's like, maybe, it's like, I don't know. I'm not saying that's not the case, but there's a fucking community around this. I'll tell you that much. Huge community. Shadows, what's up? Yeah. But the Access Super SKIZ0 notebook set up. I keep thinking you might like it. I shared the one on post a couple months ago. Oh, yeah, if you got it, man. Yeah, link, I've still got it in the messages, but yeah, link it again, too. I've got some things up here, some PDFs that I think are safe to share of some books, so. But yeah, so this is the most popular one from somebody who supposedly died when they were a child. I hope this isn't like deep cringe. Oh, you know what it might be. Yeah, let's go to the next one down. Here, this is a deathbed vision. This stuff's kind of heavy, but anyway, this, you know, maybe I'll read through this one just quickly, GALENTV. Maybe right. There's another one there we'll go over to. My aunt recently passed away, and this is her NDE in the 24 hours before she was gone. My aunt was diagnosed with breast cancer around 2 years ago. She responded well to treatment, and for a while, it looked like she was headed into remission. Unfortunately, within the last couple of months, tests revealed that not only had it come back aggressively, it spread to other organs. None of us knew that she would be gone so soon. As she was hospitalized, she began speaking to who she said was her mother and sibling. Only thing is, she had lost them both during the pandemic. My aunt would look past my uncle and have conversations with her loved ones, not uncommon for those in their final moments. But she said she'd hear her talk about things she had no way of knowing on her own. He heard her say, "Yes, I know there's X amount of dollars in the purse." He didn't think much of it, but when he went home to shower that night, even a package had arrived for her that day. He opened it, and it was a purse of her relatives had sent as a surprise for her. He looked inside to find the exact amount of money my aunt had said. My uncle was certainly perplexed and taken back. During her final moment, she was talking to my uncle and was seemingly being interrupted by someone he couldn't see. She kept pausing to say, "Just give me 1 minute," to whomever it was. Finally, she told my uncle that her mom and sibling were there for her and asked if she could go with them. He knew it was time, and he told her it was okay and that she could go. She took one final breath and left her body. We wanted her to be healed so badly through her battle, but I know that she finally is. I just wanted to share this memory of her, and I hope this reinforces an NDEs. Heaven and reunions with those who've gone before us are real. Interesting. Very interesting. What are the chances?
That sounds like a little bit like the that excerpt from the Elizondo book, where he talks about how he saw his mom died, and there was like a moment where he knew that she was in fact gone.
Yes. You can feel it ahead of time almost.
Yeah. That it's like they took one final breath, and then it's like their body was given like a signal or something where you just say, "All right, it's time. We're getting out of here. We're out. We out."
Yeah, they just go. There's a breath. People will go, and they die. It's very. It sounds triggering, and it is to some degree, but there is a sense of relief too, because usually when people are going like that, if it's not sudden, there's like a death rattle, and they're slowly going.
The death rattle.
You almost hit a car on the highway while I was crossing the street. I felt like a part of me there. Driver, though he hit me, everybody screamed. I feel like I really died in a parallel universe. Oh my god. So that's interesting.
There's a thought with the parallel universe on that.
Schrodinger.
You kind of get that, like, because actually not nearly to that extent I imagine, but I actually had a very similar experience recently. Where I was sort of in the downtown area of the city where we live close to, and I was crossing one of the crosswalks, and the drivers over there are nuts. Drivers are nuts everywhere, but they're a special kind of nuts around here. Yeah. And there was this, I could see the driver, is this lady, what was she was driving an Acura maybe? It was an SUV, or it might have been a BMW, I can't remember, I think it was an Acura. And I remember I was going across because, as a pedestrian, you get the first bit to go across. Yeah. So I usually what I do is I'll step out slowly and I come put my hand up, and it's almost like I feel like I'm physically stopping the car. It's me. I'm mentally. I'm not making. I'm making them press their brake pedal. But anyway. So I was walking across. Yeah. And I saw the person actually like speed up in the car. So I paused for a second because they were sped up to go into and I was about to step into their lane, and then all of a sudden they shifted lanes without signaling, and they're going right to me, and I had to jump out of. I didn't quite jump out of the way, but I had to hurry out of the way before they're going to hit me. And I saw them; they braked on the crosswalk, and they had their hand on their passenger seat, and it was kind of like, well, what are they bracing for? They're going to be fine if they hit me.
Psychologically, maybe not, but physically, yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, fuck. but it's that split universe that got opened up there.
It is that. I know exactly what Zach is talking about, because I kind of had that feeling too, where you just go like, "There's another universe out there where I definitely got hit."
Yeah.
So just like
somebody kept you in this universe.
Somebody kept me in. Well, that's what I tell myself every time I have one of those thoughts where it's like, if I made a mistake here, I was gone. I said, "It's not this universe, not this version of me. We're staying alive here. And if those pencil-necked other versions of me think they're gonna live, well, I'm gonna be the first one to live here."
You fucking tell them. They're all dead now. Those other versions of you.
There's also supposedly infinitely many of me that are also alive out there. So we're the ones that are going to maintain our poise.
Fuck. Will, I do not. If you message me on Discord, I'll link you my email that we can use. Play Staying Alive. Yeah. Praying we're staying alive. Interesting. These are some of the similar anecdotes here, though, that you find, whether it's about viewing or life after death stuff, NDEs, or psychics even have experiences with psychics. There's those moments that make you question the phenomena, I guess, and its legitimacy, where it's like it's a series of somewhat impossible coincidences, and that's all it is, and usually, but it's enough that it takes you back. So this is one of those instances again where it's like, what are the chances that A, she knew there was a purse coming in the mail, and B, she guessed the amount of money in it? Now, was it a easy amount of money to guess? Was it like $100? Right?
A round number.
A round number. If it was like $57.63, that'd be even more insane. I'm assuming if it was a gift with money, it would have been more of a round number. But still, right? Now, with this whole, we can get into this, right? People say, well, why, Jim, why the fuck does that matter, right? It's like, it could just be a coincidence. It may be, right? It could be a symptom of something else as well, right? I mean, we could be living in a simulation, and part of the simulation could be that there needs to remain an element of doubt, right? We don't know. We are not consciously aware we're in a simulation or what's on the other side, right? So there may have to remain to some degree an element of doubt involved with it. Funny that with UFO phenomena, we see the same thing happening, where it looks like there may be visitors here, but for some reason, they're very reluctant to make themselves known to the point where that element of doubt can wane completely. It's still there, right? And as we were talking about before, those are two big questions, probably two biggest questions. What happens when we die? And are we alone? And those two may be intimately linked, as well as more advanced people, visitors, beings out in the universe may have figured that out. And that would interfere with us here quite a bit if they were like, oh yeah, by the way, you're in a fucking simulation bed. It's like, oh fuck. Because, I mean, the anecdotes you hear in the abduction phenomena, which is all very, woo, is that. So, could it be the other side just kind of nudging people, right? We're always looking for, well, I want the answers for it right now. It's like, that might not be the purpose of everything, right? That might not be, we might be in some kind of a simulation. They may have the intention might not be to figure that out, right? So you might have to kind of sit in, it might be a bit of a mystery, right? Piece together threads. Yeah.
Could be with like the simulation theory. You go through your life, and then then you die, and you go up to the, if you will, what are they? What are the gates? Gates of St. Peter, is that
Pearly
it?
Gates,
the Pearly Gates? I thought it was the Gates of St. Peter, but I know Pearly Gates is one that I'm thinking of, but I thought there was a specific name. You go there and you get St. Peter himself sitting there saying, "Now, what did you learn on this playthrough?" And you look back at him and you say, "I don't know." Or maybe you say, those fellows over on Earth, they're a bunch of assholes. And Peter says, "All right, try again." Bangs his gavel as he's a judge, and then you go back to Earth, and then you have no memory of it. But then, somebody that goes up and they devoted their life to the service, not service of self, but the service to others.
There you go.
And they go up and he says, what'd you learn? And you say, the important thing in the universe is to love.
Oh my God.
Is to love thine other beings.
There you go.
And St. Peter says, all right. And then he bangs his gavel, and you wake up and you unplug from the Matrix. And you go like, oh, what a fucked up game that was. Yeah. Let's go again.
There you go. There you go. That could very well be it, right? That could very well be what's going on.
Could be it. Yeah.
Obviously, this is what people claim in the past they have seen. Near-death experiences, right? That have influenced these different religious Depictions of what the afterlife looks like. Walking up a stairway is a popular one. A stairway to heaven is one that people supposedly have encountered. Where,
if you will, the stairway to heaven,
if you will. Yeah, I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan, but there's a reason for that. It's because it's something that people supposedly have encountered, where they walk up towards the light, and then once the light hits, everything kind of washes away, and they're on this other side. Well, that's never really talked about, right? But the movement from life to death is something that's been documented. And, again, it's a part of life. It's a hard thing to consider, but we all here now one day will die. It's just what's going to happen. We're all going to take that journey. Hopefully it's not, crossing the street by a bus, right? Well, talking about earlier, Galen, or an Acura SUV, right? Highway to hell. Wherever we're going and however it's going down, at some point we're going to make that crossover. So we're going to find it, right? That's the thing. The question, though, is can we find out now? Real life. Can we know now? I want to know now, right? Can we get an idea, maybe, a perspective? Can we get a framework of like what the fuck is going to happen, right? Are the answers out there? That's a question I always ask myself. I said, well, somewhere out in the world, maybe we can't know for sure, but has somebody figured it out, or has somebody gotten like the big picture? At least has somebody hit the proverbial, if I say it, nail in the head? Have they gotten closer than anybody else? Because obviously, like philosophy, there's a lot of religious people that are in the discipline of philosophy, theologists, priests that talk about these things, big ontological questions about God. And it's like, it's framed in that way a lot. In academia, it's a safe way almost to talk about, like, oh, well, yes, what about the gates of heaven? And what about this? But it's not safe to talk about more modern metaphysical things. And I never really understood that, probably because they're not as well studied. The Bible's a well-regarded document, right? That's been studied by other philosophically inclined people for centuries, millennia. Michael Newton's work hasn't been, right? It came out of like the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and he published it in the 90s. So it's like a new metaphysics that isn't, for whatever reason, friendly in those. Oh, it's changing. But I always found his work to be very, very interesting. I keep saying that. Like, we'll get to it here in a minute, I guess. But anyway. What's some other ones here that we can go up onto here? This guy's experience of visiting the afterlife. Oh my God, that's a literal book. My grandpa didn't know he was dead. Oh my heavens.
That's an essay. That is indeed an essay.
Do you want to read this one? This sounds like a fucking ghost encounter with Grandpa.
Yeah, I could read that. I have actually one that I can share too that I remember hearing. It's not a personal story. It's okay. I think I remember hearing this on the news. So often, what some people talk about when they're close to dying, especially if it's like a sudden death, something like you're like bleeding out if you're like shot with a gun or you're stabbed or something. That usually people talk about how they feel like extremely tired, and what they want to do is they want to go to sleep. But the sleep that you go to is in fact you're dead. And I remember hearing there was a story of a fella. They talked about him there was like a news story I remember seeing years ago. And I can't remember exactly the detail, if the guy was skateboarding or something. And I can't remember if he was hit by a truck, or if he was hit by a car or something, or if he landed. I think he was hit by something. I couldn't tell you what it was. Or he may have been robbed. I don't know. The point is, he was in the throes of death. And he was walking, and he said that, and he recounted his story. He said that I just really wanted to like go to sleep there, and I kept telling myself that if I go to sleep, I'm not going to wake up. So he was able to will himself into getting to whatever aid there was without going to sleep, if you will.
Right.
And I always thought that was kind of like an interesting take on it. It's like a near-death experience, but it's not quite in like the sense where you would get like the DMT rush. It was more of just like almost trying to fight it.
Hormone tricks our minds too. Yeah, well, your body literally shutting down. Yeah, it's just shutting down. You're fighting it. You're fighting that shutdown. You're persevering. You're pushing it through the power of the mind, I guess, right? And speaks again maybe to, we're strange creatures where we have this consciousness that other creatures don't really have, right? where we can will ourselves to do things, we can push through things, we can fight natural processes of the body. It's strange, right? So yeah, it's very interesting.
So you can kind of use your mind to kind of like overcome, and I mean, like that would be the nature of how placebo drugs would work as well.
Yeah,
like you tell somebody that you're taking like a Tylenol or there's an aspirin, really it's a sugar pill, and they go like, "Man, this aspirin's working. My headache's gone. I feel great." And you say, "Well, I got news for you." And you tell them it's a placebo, and then they're just like, "Oh, well, it worked." And then all of a sudden their headache comes back, and they go, "Oh, God damn it! Why'd you tell me?"
Because they relax. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you have trials for like placebos too. That's accounted for in like medicine, because people are effectively, if they know they're taking like a drug or something, that their body might react to it just because on what their this is called like intentionality, I think is what this is called, where like something that's true for you might not. Well, that's subjective, I guess, but I always go back to like the textbook thing I learned where they talk about Superman and Lois Lane and Clark Kent. Now, to Lois Lane, Clark Kent and Superman are in fact two different people, but in reality they're actually the same person. It's kind of like the placebo. The placebo drug and the actual drug in the drug trial or in the study, they're two different things, but to the person that's taking them, if they don't know, that they would be one and the same.
Yes.
Anyway, let's read this story about Grampy.
Yeah.
My grandpa didn't know he was dead. About 10 or so months ago, my grandfather died. It was a sudden death that resulted in a car crash. He never knew what happened. About 2 weeks or so later, I had a dream. He was sitting at his kitchen table, saw me, and asked, "Cafe Dreamer, where am I? What's going on?" I looked at him and I said, "You died." He responded with, "Oh, okay." He didn't really seem too surprised by the news. It went on to say that he keeps seeing this white light, and that he doesn't know what it is, but that it keeps calling to him. I told him that it's a good place where his brother and mother are, that it's peaceful and full of love, that they're waiting for him and would very much like to see him again, but then I told him, in a very important way, that it was his choice. He didn't have to go and could wait as long as he wanted. He thought about it for a moment and said he was going to wait a while. I cried, and he started to make himself a comfortable home. Then I woke up. I truly believe that I got communicated with him after he died, and that he needed me to tell him that he had died. That's it's another recurring thing, isn't it? Where somebody they're not sure if they're really dead or not.
Yeah, and people having visions, dreams of them after the fact. I actually have a story of this too, which I won't mention too, but I lost a very good friend of mine years ago, now, almost 10 years ago, and some other friends as well that were involved with him, and they were very good friends with him too. And a couple of us had the same dream actually a couple days after he had passed, and he was a very eccentric, kind of funny guy, like a kind of a joker, and we both had the same dream where he was in it and he was smiling and laughing and saying like it's all a trick. It's like a joke. It was all a trick. I'm okay. It was all a trick. Like, don't believe it. I'm okay. It was a trick. And we had the same kind of dream. It differed a little bit, but essentially the same thing with him telling us. And I had the same kind of sensation, and that was the only one. And it happened a couple days after, where he was reiterating that to me constantly over and over again. And I didn't get it. I was always mad at him in the dream, but it was weird because it was a very, again, real kind of conversation I felt but then he would just kept saying that. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, and I didn't know what he meant, but I get probably what he was trying to say now, maybe, if that's what it was. But again, two people having the same, now, are there hormones involved? When you lost with somebody, it's complicated, psychological components where you're trying to let go of that person, like that you're bonded with, essentially. There's a bonding with that person. and that maybe that's, you know, because of their character, that's one way you construe it, but it's one of those coincidences again where it's like shit, and it really did feel like some kind of communication. Oh, you saw your grandfather too. Yeah, it's a ride, man. Well, and this is kind of what it was. You know, it's funny because in life, that person, I was always the metaphysician talking about life after death and souls and is there an afterlife and what is reality and UFOs and all this shit. And he was always very hardline atheist. Oh, I'm just gonna rot in the hole when I die. Like, I'm just gonna be in the ground. There's no afterlife, nothing. And so that's what I thought was kind of weird, where he had kind of flipped into 180. He's like, oh my God, yeah, okay, it is what it is. And yeah, I've had some other experiences too, I guess, not related to that, but yeah, anyway, it was very strange, but it's a common phenomena. Like, my mom, after her mother died, she said she had a very real dream that was almost like a waking dream, where she was sitting at the end of her bed and she was telling her, it's okay, I'm okay. Like, she was pretty distraught when she lost her. And she said it's very vivid, and it's very common. It's a very common thing. And again, it's like, is there something more to it, right, than just some kind of psychological coping mechanism? Is there something that maybe there is legitimately some kind of reaching out going on? Yeah, exactly, those little signs. And I think it's one of those things we may have never be able to know definitively, right? That element of doubt may never drop completely, but it's those little reminders that the world's more complicated than I think some people make it out to be or want it to be. And it's another reminder not to be ignorant to mystical experience. There you go, the Jungian quote, but it's very true, because you get those little reminders once in a while that, you know, that things aren't what you think they are sometimes, or the world's more complicated than you think it is. Anyway, yeah, so that's interesting. After death communication. So this is like full blown fucking seance. Fucking, Destiny's friend touched me while visiting her grave today. Anomalous information reception by research mediums. I had a weird dream my mom hope was real. I felt so much love. Multiple visitations from a friend who took her own life, and that's a rough one. Yeah, that's a very confusing thing too. That's a very dark situation. I believe I had a visit from a departed friend. I knew my step grandma passed before I was told. Interesting. Ouija board, spirit box is summoning from the other side. Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share this, but you had a Ouija board story, didn't you?
You know, psychic story or a Ouija board, like actual Ouija board?
No, I thought you said it was with a Ouija board.
You mean when I summoned that person?
Maybe. I guess. If you don't want to share it, I won't say it.
Oh, I can. Well, there was a psychic. So that person came through when I went to go see a psychic. That was that was very traumatic. That was a very sketchy thing. I went to go see the person. I've told this before on here. So said person died very tragically. Unfortunately, he did take his own life, and it was a very tragic situation. And so I had went to go see a psychic years later. I think like 2 years.
No, this is a different story.
This is a different story. Okay, all right. Yeah.
I was thinking a different one.
Well, I've fucked around with Ouija boards before too, but I don't think there was. Yeah, there wasn't anything in specific that had happened with the Ouija board that I can think of, except that in the person's house that we were fucking around with. I think like a couple months to a year later, he saw like a Native American man sitting in his computer chair.
Yeah, that was it. That was.
Oh, was that it? Okay,
that was
more lighthearted. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, where it's funny because I didn't really correlate the two for many years after. I don't think he even ever has correlated the two actually. That possibly the Ouija board in the house did happen before that happened. And who knows, right? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The
what I recall was that from what you told me is that there were some people. There was a Ouija board, and you're kind of like neutral about it. The other fella, he was like very just like, oh no, this is just all fake and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then there were a few other people there that were just like, don't you dare summon the spirits. Don't you dare! If I'm haunted tonight, I swear to God, I'm going to come over here, bring a spirit with me, and we're both going to kick your ass.
There was a group of us. My ex-girlfriend was very into ghosts and shit. And her friends and a couple of my buddies are there. And my buddy, whose house it was his mom's place. He's living in her basement. And he didn't buy it. He thought he was trying to be like that cool, like, fearless guy in the group. Like, no, I don't care. Like, we'll just fuck around with it. The funny thing, he didn't really fuck around with it though. Like, the girls were playing around with it, but it's funny because they were very nervous about them too. Like they were kind of very, what's the word, I guess? There's a word, but people like, hesitant. There's another word, superstitious. They were very superstitious. They were uncomfortable that they even bought it and brought it over. Anyway, and then I guess it was months, if not a year later. Yeah, it was like 2-3 in the morning. And this guy, I'm not really friends with him anymore at all, but he was playing poker late at night on the family computer, and he went to go change to get ready for bed, and walking back down the hallway, the chair had turned when he left. There was a man with long dark hair that looked, well, he could see Native American. He looked dead. Like, I remember his skin, like he was like a dead man that was just staring at him from the chair. And he like freaked the fuck out and ran around the corner. When he came back, he was gone. But very strange. And it gets into, we get very weird, like ghost stories and stuff. Like, what are ghost stories? It's another area where there's tons of anecdotes, crazy amount of them, of people seeing ghosts. And some of them go beyond just like ethereal, like shadow of a person. Sometimes people will literally see people. What was this a video? I can't remember if I watched their video, but there was this video I watched recently. I've watched it on stream. But it was of Roman soldiers, and there was this basement in Italy, I think, is where it was. And this person, it was a storefront essentially back in like in the 70s and 80s, and people would regularly see these Roman soldiers walking through the basement, like row by row by row. And one of the guys had described it in like a local newspaper or something, where he was like, they're wearing like green. They were like a green hat, like a green uniform, and they'd round like blue shields or something was the description. And there was some local historian that had been studied, and they were like, and people had seen these, and they said, no, this bullshit. That doesn't match any description of what Roman soldiers would wear. They wore red, right? They had square shields. Lo and behold, a decade or two later, it was discovered in an archaeological dig that actually there was a battalion of Roman soldiers who were decked out in green, I think it was green or blue fatigues, and I think they had a blue round shield. And essentially it was people who got recruited in the Roman army that weren't from Rome. They were like, I don't know, refugees or whatever, so they were non-Romans that they conscripted to fight in the army. And
there's a name for that, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, they mentioned it. But so they had seen these Romans marching through, and it was a real phenomena. And it's like, well, what the fuck is that? It's something to do with energy. But is it the people's consciousness still trapped in that place? Is that what it is? Is it just energy? Buddy. Hopefully someone's breaking into the house. No fucking cars here right now. But yeah, just very, very strange. And all those anecdotes, it really makes you wonder. It's like, well, what is going on? Is it just energy? Is that what it is? Is it someone's energy, if they're in a place long enough, to some degree gets imprinted there in some weird way? I mean, I could vibe with that. But then there's other instances where it's like there's direct interactions with people, which is a little weirder, where like, someone will be doing their makeup and like stuff will just fly off the counter. And it's like, that's beyond just the energy of somebody, walking through the room without disturbing anything. So in that instance, it's somebody stuck on the other side. We have that story of the professor and the Applebean throne. But before we retell that, allow me to speculate on this. You have like if you have this energy embedded, and you would have like you would see like soldiers marching. Can you imagine like in 100 or 120 years from now, if that would be the case, and like somebody would move into an apartment, and the apartment before was like occupied by the for all intents and purposes this like hyper neat
and they didn't even like leave the place, and they just kept seeing this fella that looked like he was dead just at this what it would appear to be a computer, just like 24
gooning,
hours a day,
just gooning all fucking night. Yeah. Jesus, there's a raptor sighting in the desert. Those are actually tricky. Holy fuck, man! I didn't. Is that actually a thing? That's interesting.
Ooh, a raptor ghost.
Well, you know that there were sightings in, where was it? Not Cambodia. Somewhere in Central Africa of Brontosaurus. And there's this whole thing. Right? Do you know this story about David Cho?
I do not.
You know, holy fuck, this guy. So I'd never heard of him. He's an artist from LA. And he's from Korea, I think. But he back when he was younger, he went on this search. He got obsessed with this idea that there were these Brontosaurus in, it wasn't Cambodia, because Cambodia is not in fucking Africa, but somewhere in Central Africa. And so, and this place was a war-torn fucking country, right? The Congo is where it was. And so he went to the Congo in like, I think the late 90s, early 2000s to look for this fucking Brontosaurus. And he almost got killed. He almost starved to death, actually. Terrible fucking experience. But anyway, there were these legitimate rumors that supposedly people had found footprints, they had sightings of them, never found a body, obviously. But that he was convinced, and there's other people that are convinced, that that this creature was real. It was really there. Same with the Loch Ness Monster, right? People saw this fucking dinosaur in the water, supposedly, periodically, but it's not there. They just sonar scans, it's not there. Is it something, man? Is it some kind of imprint that's still there? Is it time overlapping, or is it just an imprint of energy in that area that's very strong, that occasionally just expresses itself and people see representation of it? And there's tons of instances of this too, with like even World War II, people hearing planes dive bombing, like bombs being dropped still. I think this happens through Europe. I've heard accounts of people mentioning this where they're convinced that there was like sirens going off at times, like bomb sirens. Yeah, this is a real thing. This is another thing altogether. Yeah, dimensional, something like that. But anyway, it's very interesting. Yeah, we do have in terms of ghost stories. One of our old professors of philosophy had told this story. Were you in that class or no?
No, I don't think I was in the class.
Yeah, a group of us had asked him. So he was, he knew some people in theology, some religious philosophers, and some academics in that area. So anyway, he was working in Montreal, supposedly. What's is it McGill? It's a big one in Montreal, right?
McGill would be, I think, just outside of Montreal. But,
right.
And honestly, I can't remember.
It was at McGill. And he was working late, and there's some priests at work there as academics. And anyway, he and a psychology friend, professor, were going out, supposedly. If I can recall correctly, I think you'd mentioned that it was the psychology professor's friend. Her daughter was like being harassed by this. They had like a haunting, like a full-on poltergeist thing going on in their house. And so he brought along this priest, like, anything about fucking exorcisms, right? It was something literally out of The Exorcist. So they were going, he had met them while they were walking in, and they were like laughing, saying, oh yeah, we're going to go take a look at this fucking haunting, I guess. Ghost in the house. So anyway, when he was leaving, so this would be a couple hours later, early in the morning, he said, when he was leaving the building, he met them again. He said they were both like sheet white. And he said, oh, what happened? And they said, you won't believe it. And so then they told him. And supposedly what happened was they walked into the house. And as soon as they walked in, she had this bowl of fake fruit, like fake apples, oranges at the end of the hallway with a mirror. As soon as they walked in, it was a fake apple flew out of the bowl and slammed against the side of the window, the entry window right beside the door where they were standing, right beside them. And they were just like, and then she didn't go into detail what happened after that, but it was enough, he said, for them to be like, oh fuck. So yeah, essentially I think they sat down and they were convinced at that point something was going on, and she was just telling them about what had happened, if I can recall correctly. He didn't elaborate too much on what had happened after that, but that was like the incident. Like they literally walked in, and that piece of fake fruit flew across the hallway at them, at the door, right beside the door. So I thought that was an interesting anecdote, because this guy, you know, he's a good guy, a little bit out on the old spectrum there, but he's not a guy that bullshits. Like he's not someone that, he's a professional philosopher, I guess. So you could say he's just in the woo at all times to some degree, but not somebody that is like into the deep metaphysical kind of woo, right? Like
this is just for my own verification. This is the same guy that met with the Trudes.
Murray, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, he also met with Justin Trudeau. Well, not that I can fucking dox him, but I
was pretty sure this sounded like a story he'd tell.
Yeah. He was the speechwriter for the old Liberal candidate, we'll say that much, a couple of years ago. And so after he had stepped down after a loss, when they were trying to find a new lead for the Liberal Party in Canada, they recruited this gentleman to kind of suss him out, right? Professor of philosophy, you know, political activist, speechwriter. He wanted to sit down. So he sat down with him for a couple hours. And he told us, this is during the election in 2015 or 2014, 2015, when Justin first ran. And he effectively told us that his opinion ultimately was that no one was home. He said he didn't know anything about any kind of policies, right? He said he didn't know anything. He said he was just he just felt like there was just no one there. I was like, fuck. As if a buddy's going to legalize weed. Anyway. Oh, yeah. Anyway. I don't really know the guy that well. Like, our other professor I knew quite well. I think he's still alive. But this gentleman, I took many classes with him. He was a good guy. But he probably wouldn't even fucking remember me now anyway. I'm sure I
think he's still at the college.
I think he still is there. I know our other professor is no longer there. I was much closer with him.
He's been gone for a while.
Yeah, he had enough of that fucking bullshit. Enough of the bullshit, enough of the politics. Yeah, academia. Fucking. Anyway, yeah. So, ghost stories. I thought, you know, I mean, at some point, I don't know how woo we want to get here, but I think this is now safe to show. This book is from 1995 or 1994, and I think this is an open PDF anyone can go and find. So yeah, this is The Journey of Souls for anybody that wants to get a hold of some kind of woo book. I've talked about this many times on here, and listen. If you encounter loss in your life, which for all of you at some point, inevitably you will encounter loss, and you may be distraught when that happens, right? You're not going to reach for Richard Dawkins, let me tell you that much, right? He's not going to calm your soul, right? But you might reach for something like, I don't know, the Bible, and for some kind of metaphysical hope. And I would recommend in those moments that instead you reach for something like this, or this very book, in fact, as someone who has sifted through all of the different metaphysical texts out there. I find this one to be very interesting because it's from someone who is very grounded, although reading through this afterwards, you might disagree with that, but he was, and he is. He's now passed, actually. Very well written text, and
has he passed?
He has passed. You know, he was an older guy. Like, you know, he was a practicing psychoanalyst, psychologist back in the 1960s. So he was one of the original guys that started doing like the past life regression shit.
I always pictured a young man when he said Michael Newton. I don't know why.
Nope. He died 7 or 8 years ago. He would have been in his 90s. Yeah, back in the 60s in California during the hippie craze, people started getting into this past life stuff. So it really started with Edgar Cayce, back at the turn of the 20th century. Edgar Cayce was like the godfather of all woo and talked about past lives, and he would do past life regressions with people while he was in his trance-like state. He would talk to them about their past lives, and he didn't really get them into a trance-like state to do anything about it. But he mentioned this stuff and got people interested in it. The Theosophists, the society of people who studied these kinds of metaphysical things, they had brought a lot of Eastern philosophies and perspectives over to the West. And they talked about this idea of past lives and reincarnation and different cycles of lives that people go through, and karma and all that shit came out of like the Theosophical Society. And anyway, this progressed at some point to people experimenting with hypnosis, altered states of consciousness. Aleister Crowley did this back again at the turn of the 20th century. He was fucking around with like sex magic, but really hypnotic states is what they were fucking around with. So at some point, this moved into psychology because hypnosis was something that became a medical treatment back, I think, in like the 30s. Like Jung had experimented with this. So the 30s, 40s, 50s, and then it became recognized, I think it was back in the 70s or 80s by the American Psychological Association as an actual medical treatment. But psychology had taken it serious for a long time because they had a lot of anecdotes of it working on people, whether it was to get them off cigarettes or to help them with trauma or psychosomatic issues. Like when they were a kid, they get stabbed in the side with a fork and they always felt the pain there. And they went through a couple rounds of hypnosis and they were able to like let go of that trauma and the pain literally stopped. So it had been recognized as a medical treatment in psychology for a long time. So what people were doing with it and thought, well, could you take me through a past life? Could you alter my state of consciousness? Could you ask me these questions when I'm under and see if I can have any kind of experience? So what happened was these people, hippies mainly back in the 60s, started bugging Michael Newton. Would you do past life treatment? And Michael Newton said, no, this is fucking bullshit. Right? He was a very grounded kind of materialist kind of guy, and he was a specialist in hypnotherapy, mainly with childhood trauma. He was a specialist in childhood trauma, and he was very reluctant to go into any of the woo. And anyway, the first experience that he had, which might be in here actually, is a story where someone came in with some psychosomatic trauma, a stab to the side, and he couldn't get rid of the pain. He was waking up screaming at night. It was horrible. And anyway, he told him to go to the source of his pain. And he was in a battlefield. I think it was at the Somme, Battle of the Somme, which was like 250 years ago. And he'd just been bayoneted. And that opened up the floodgates. And then that's how he got into it. So what is sex magic? You'll have to Google that one, man. Essentially, sex magic, from what I know, which I don't know a lot. Write a wish, squirm, worm, throw away wish. Wait, like the Cosmic Amazon. It's essentially you get yourself into this hypnotic state through sex, and then I think there's something to do. It's essentially like hardcore gooning. You're just gonna goon.
Yeah, I was
all
just about to say. It sounds, you think about it. I bet gooning is a form of sex magic practice.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I think the idea is that there's a lot of energy that is like supposed to be released during like intimacy or during like sexual activities.
Should I Google this? Yeah.
And it's kind of like you get that like kind of that like
Nope.
feeling like in your
yeah.
Oh.
I was like, okay, no, because I gotta put that in the fucking image search. Goon blackout. Hardcore gooner encouragement. I canceled all my plans and stayed naked in my bed all weekend, just gooning to porn while smelling dirty panties.
I thought you were going to put hardcore sex magic, and then you'd wrote gooning instead.
The best POV, JOI, edging, dirty talk, hypno, goon, joy cock, worship, cum chop, blowjob, and hand job compilation. Holy fuck. We know what we're watching later, GALENTV. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
I don't know about that.
What? Well, fucking, but what's going to happen later. All right. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
I guess we got to see how the practice goes. You emulate and then perfect.
There you go. That's exactly what it is.
That's
exactly what it is. Yeah. Here we have the Golden Gate. So like, if you're gooning like that, you're not getting in here. By the way, no.
Well, I don't know. You might
in.
say like Peter might be like, no. So what'd you learn? You just said, look, pleasure, the hedonistic lifestyle is the best lifestyle.
Yeah.
Pleasure above all else. And he says, okay, but you're getting into the different club. You're not getting into heaven. You're getting into the different club here. Here's the side door. It's like a door. It's falling apart. It just has like neon lettering, just like sleazy individual. Maybe not sleazy individual. It just says like sex dungeon on it.
Yeah. Lock shit of there. It's like, that was way too much cum. You're not coming in here now. That was way too much. You're not allowed in here now. Too filthy.
I think it's supposed to do with like energy that's released. I think.
Yeah.
That supposedly. I hesitate to say this one, but this is supposedly has to do with why like pedophilia is practiced.
Oh Jesus!
It's like along the lines of this. I think is from what I understand. It's like a big reason why there's like these like alleged pedophilia practices going on. Is it has to do with this like energy that is released, and that it's supposedly there's like more of it with like somebody that's young, but I don't know.
It's like an energy thing. Yeah, I've heard the QAnon people talk about this. Interesting. I mean, who knows?
It's frankly kind of sick, but
it's very
interesting
sick.
in a I guess you would say in just like a now why are these people doing this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about let's positive. Let's just not the sick perverts of the world. Yeah.
Now let's go back onto our lighter subject of death.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the sticky cum gates. Yeah. This is here's a good little thing here. I'm obviously not going to read through. This is how many pages are in this book. It's quite a long book. Here's an introduction. You would know the hidden realm where all souls dwell. The journey's way lies through death's misty fell. Within this timeless passage, a guiding light does dance. Lost from conscious memory, but visible in trance. Oh, my heavens.
Was that poem?
It was a little poem. Almost kind of it's not quite a haiku, but it's I don't know. It's
haiku is 3 syllables.
That's
5
true.
Syllables,
yeah, it's
3 syllables. I think.
Not quite, but it has a kind of energy, yeah. But that's from Michael Newton himself. So, death and departure, gateway to the spirit world, homecoming, displaced soul orientation. I can talk about these briefly. We can read through some of them as well. Essentially, the first thing that he gets into in this book, which is interesting, is when he's putting people through hypnosis. The first thing usually that he'll do, and this revolves around this book going through past lives, but it gets into an interesting place where supposedly Michael, through altering human consciousness, was able to kind of shut down the monkey brain a little bit, at least our ego, kind of the human side of our ego. And he allowed whatever is behind us, supposedly, to come through a little bit more clearly. There wasn't that veil of forgetfulness anymore, where people were, their consciousness, a pure consciousness, was able to kind of use the human as a conduit, where you didn't have the ego, you didn't have all that in the way, and this energy wasn't obscured by that any longer. Similarly to how supposedly Edgar Cayce did his readings as well. He hypnotized himself, essentially. He thought he was sleeping. He wasn't asleep. He would hypnotize himself and bring him to the same kind of place. So this is functioning under the hypothesis, obviously, that consciousness, a degree of it is non-local, right? And that even playing around with our consciousness under that hypothesis, you could potentially create a clear pathway that doesn't have all the bullshit in the way, right? Like the person, literally, personality. And so that other part isn't obscured by it any longer. So what he does is he gets people. This is something that, now, if you were to talk to someone who practices psychology, hypnotherapy, academically, you might know of his work. If they know who he was, they'd say, oh, yeah. And the critique of it is, so there's these different states in hypnosis. Let me just put it up here. Hypnotic states, levels. Hypnotic levels. Alpha, what is it again? Okay. Oh, fuck, jeez. Anyway, it's like alpha, beta, theta. Yeah, there's these different brainwave states. And essentially where Michael...
okay, yeah.
So he's saying like alpha, beta, theta. Theta is sleep, let's say. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But the...
I thought the alpha brain state was like the one where you just be like the Chad version of yourself.
No.
The beta one is just like you're the opposite of it.
No, well, so alpha would technically, I think, if I'm probably fucking this up, but you have to just kind of get what I'm at here. Essentially, when you're awake and you move through that, the further you go down towards beta, you're in this state of kind of hypnosis. And then from beta, let's say to theta, let's see if I got this right here or not. Oh, sorry, beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma. Okay. So these are the different states. So you go from beta, the waking conscious and reasoning wave, alpha, the deep relaxation wave, theta, the light meditation and sleeping wave, and then delta is the deep sleep wave. So where Michael was bringing people was right down to the bottom of theta right before they fall asleep. Kind of like Nostradamus, nutmeg-fueled trances. Yes, exactly, Tricky. Yeah, that's exactly
fueled trances. There you go.
So yeah. So
you know what nutmeg can be used for, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yes. So similarly though, yeah, that's another psychic who kind of did something similar, right? They get themselves into these hypnagogic states, and so Michael would bring them very close to sleep, right above it. And his hypothesis with all of his work essentially is that there's this thing that happens if you can get people to hang out in between somewhere in theta. What happens is the body, like the human ego, starts to literally drop off and fall asleep, but there's still consciousness there enough to where whatever's behind us can come through if it's engaged. If you have someone engaging with it, i.e. doing hypnosis, keeping you there. And when that happens, he called it a superconscious state. So you let the human kind of brain shut down, the human body, well, it's all the human brain. You let the ego shut down, and then whatever's behind us hypothetically comes through. Superconscious state is what he called it. In this state, it's able to get all kinds of answers for things. What was interesting, though, in his work, supposedly, it was a very carefully monitored experiment, supposedly, where what was going on the other side is that they were allowing him to do this or bringing this forward because it was in anticipation that the world was going to change soon and that they wanted people to start having these kinds of conversations within the simulation. This kind of gradual awakening was occurring, right? This book was published in 1994, 1995. Now, for people that know the woo, the 90s were like the time of awakening. People think it was the 70s. No, it was the 90s. 90s and all the abductees started coming out. Ufology started blowing up. All the crystal shops started opening. That's when it started. Business was booming. For
the 90s had like the sense of hope on it too, because like the Cold War was ended. The wall in Berlin that divided East and West Germany came down and whatnot. So there was kind of like this like sense of like, all right, we're good. Now we don't have to worry about dying. Now what happens after we die? Now that we're not worried about dying, what's going to happen after?
That's exactly it. And Delphi with the natural gas. Yes, same thing, man. Yeah. 90s had the most ghost-based movies. It was just a time of great awakening is what it was known as, right? And anyway, this came about in this time. But supposedly, there was an intention for this to come about and for this to happen. And the entire experiment of him doing this was all carefully monitored, supposedly, from this other side, which is interesting. So there weren't just unbounds amount. It wasn't a free-for-all of know anything you want. It was very carefully monitored, which I thought was kind of interesting, even if this was a fan fiction. If this is a fiction he's cropping up, I think it's an interesting way to do it, right? Because, I mean, reading these things, you have no way to corroborate if this actually occurred or not. Right, it's impossible for us to know that. Although supposedly some of the stuff is kind of corroborated from case studies, and these were all case studies performed by him. And he was somewhat well regarded by, I think, the American Psychological Association. He'd done a lot of work in childhood trauma, and so this side of things, I think, again, people, you do the case studies, you collect the anecdotes. Where does that leave us? It's like it doesn't prove any of this necessarily. But there's enough of it that it's interesting, which is why we're talking about it, I think. So anyway, he'd get the people into this state, it's a super conscious state, and he'd start asking them questions. Or he would bring them through what he would usually do in his practices. And he would bring them through the last life that they lived. And they go over the life, they go through the life, and where they would usually end up would be just after they die. So they'd be over their body after they died. And they'd be going over the events of their life. They'd be reflecting on what had happened. Sometimes, in some of the instances, they were killed tragically, sometimes they were killed brutally. There was an interesting story in one of his books. And I thought this is just, these are all stories. But it was kind of cool. This guy, he supposedly in his last life was like this raging berserker Viking. And he said he was huge, which I thought was kind of interesting. Physically huge, bigger than almost everyone else, much bigger. And they were going around, he would just go around and torment different villages, and they go raiding and killing, raping, pillaging, etc. And he said he met a pretty gruesome end, because what had happened was when he started to get older, a younger, stronger person kind of one-upped him, killed him, and they cut his head off in some kind of ritual, combat, whatever. And he was going over his life after that. And he was like, yeah, that wasn't, I kind of had it coming. And it was interesting, and then going through anyway. So that's kind of an example of the conversations he was having with these people. Tons of interesting anecdotes of this. It's very, obviously, this is past life stuff, but it goes into this idea about this in-between life as well, where after they go through this death experience, they get called back to this place. So this place they get called back to, we would consider on the other side of the simulation here, right? And on this other side of the simulation, they get welcomed back to this group, that they have a group of souls, supposedly they reincarnate with, they enter the simulation with. And the group is kind of governed and looked after by a spirit guide, is what he would call them. But this kind of wise being that no longer participates in the simulation, but now is responsible for all of these other souls in this group. And they go back to this place, and then they go through with their guide their entire life story, all the things that they did, right? All the things that, and it was interesting that there was no judgment really. They would kind of, what you're talking about, Galen, with the entry into heaven, they go over what did you think you did right? What do you think you did wrong? And they would kind of go through the whole thing with them and explain it and they would go over maybe some bits that maybe weren't so good and bits that were good. And he highlights this in some of his works, what people are under. And then they also go on to planning what their next life is going to be, which was what they're in while they're under hypnosis. And it's interesting. I mean, obviously, there's no way to prove this definitively, but there is, in his instance, and he's not alone in doing this, there are people that do these things. Now, what is happening psychologically here would be the question. We can dig into this in a little bit. But is there something to this idea, A, that there's some kind of consciousness, right, that's non-local, and B, if you play around with our consciousness, is there a way to tap into it? And then C, if you can do that, can you enter the Akashic records, or probably more specifically, whatever the fuck is on the other side? And the interesting thing, kind of similar to the UFO phenomenon to some degree, is that there is this element of doubt. And in his practice, because I've read through all his works quite extensively, multiple times too, I might add, in these sessions, there would be questions he would ask, and then the person would essentially say, I can't answer that for you, I'm not allowed to, which is interesting. And in some of these sessions too, he would have people in there, and he had recounted this, and other people, he has a whole crew of people now that use this technique, where they have people come in who, have no interest in metaphysics or any of this kind of metaphysical woo. Maybe they're a tradesperson, they work with their hands. They don't really work in these areas, and then they'll get put under, and it's these deep metaphysical conversations about things, and it's completely another character, which is very strange, which is psychologically very interesting, which is why, and there is some interest in this now, by more professionals, because, people are starting to kind of open up to this idea that reality might be very stranger than we think it is. But it's, I'll read through some comments here. Interesting heated childhood trauma, because those traumas lead to dissociative disorders that essentially involve the ego taking a back seat. Yeah, that is interesting. He'd mentioned something to do with that, Will, also, as why he felt like he was suited to kind of do this kind of work. So, and it was interesting too, in his story, his journey with this, that, he specialized in, I think, psychosomatic issues. So like pain with childhood trauma. People that don't know, I've known some people who are social workers, is a very dark thing. Like children being raped and hurt, and then having issues, pains in areas like that. Like, it's very dark shit. You deal with the darkest side of humanity doing stuff like that. And so the first case he had was dealing with psychosomatic injury, but it was a bayonet. It was in the side. And that was his first introduction to this, which I thought was interesting. Giant, you mean? Yeah. Isn't there a connection between people that see those stringy lines in their eye fluid a lot and paranormal psychic experiences? Swiggly. I have those all the time, actually. Yeah, floaters. That's a good question, man. I don't know. Is it? Maybe you just stare at the sun or too much. Is that what's going on? Or I have macular degeneration. Oh, my grandfather was blind. Multiple other family members are blind. I have bad eyes. I know that's why my eyes are like that, but anyway, yeah. So this, I think I just wanted to touch on this, GALENTV, and obviously we can't read through the whole book, but
not all at once anyway.
Not all at once, but what's Gateway to the Spirit World? I mean, yeah, I was trying to find some anecdotes to maybe go through here, just to kind of give people an idea of what this is about. I thought here I can send this to you as well, but I thought I would just kind of go over this quickly, as I want us to kind of both cover and read some things. There's the actual document there. I'm on Gateway to the Spirit World. I thought I'd just read through maybe like the first little page here, just to give people an idea about what this is and how woo and wacky this all is. For
Ayahuasca, is that the name of this website?
Yeah, it is. We're in good hands. For thousands of years, the people of Mesopotamia believed the gates into and out of heaven lay at opposite ends of the great curve of the Milky Way, called the River of Souls. After death, souls had to wait for the rising doorway of Sagittarius and the autumn equinox, when day and night are equal. Reincarnation back to Earth can only take place during the spring equinox through the Gemini exit in their night sky. My subjects tell me that soul migration is actually much easier. The tunnel effect they experience when leaving Earth is a portal into the spirit world. Although souls leave their bodies swiftly, it seems to me entry into the spirit world is a carefully measured process. Later, when we return to Earth in another life, the route back is described as being more rapid. The location of the tunnel in relation to the Earth has some variations between the accounts of my subjects. Some newly dead people see it opening up next to them right over their bodies, while others say they move high above the Earth before they enter the tunnel. In all cases, however, the time lapse is reaching this passage is negligible once the soul leaves the Earth. Here are the observations of another individual in the spiritual location. Dr. Newton, you are now leaving your body. You see yourself moving further and further away from the place where you died, away from the plane of the Earth. Report back to me what you're experiencing. At first, it was very bright, close to the Earth. Now it's a little darker because I have gone into the tunnel. Describe this tunnel for me. It's a hollow, dim vent, and there's a small circle of light at the other end. Okay, what happens to you next? I feel a tugging, a gentle pulling. I feel like I'm supposed to drift through this tunnel, and I do. It is more gray than dark now because a bright circle is expanding in front of me. It's as if, go on, I'm being summoned forward. Let the circle of light expand in front of you at the end of the tunnel and continue to explain what is happening to you. The circle of light grows very wide and I'm out of the tunnel. There is a cloudy brightness, a light fog. I'm filtering through it. As you leave the tunnel, what else stands out in your mind besides the lack of absolute visual clarity? Lowers his voice. It's so still. It's such a quiet place to be in. I'm in the place of spirits. Do you have any other impressions at this moment as a soul? Is this thought? I feel the power of thought all around. So just relax completely and let your impressions come through easily as you continue to report back to me exactly what is happening to you. Please go on. Well, it's hard to put into words. I feel thoughts of love, companionship, empathy. It's all combined with anticipation as if others are waiting for me. Dr. Newton, do you have a sense of security, or are you a little scared? He says, I'm not scared. When I was in the tunnel, I was more disoriented. Yes, I feel secure. I'm aware of thoughts reaching out to me of caring, nurturing. It is strange, but there's also an understanding around me of just who I am and why I'm here now. Do you see any evidence of this around you? In a hushed tone, he says, no, I sense a harmony of thought everywhere. Anyway, this goes on here. So, you mentioned cloud-like substances around you, Red, for leaving the tunnel. Are you in a sky over Earth? He said, no, not that, but I seem to be floating through cloud stuff, which is different from Earth. Can you see the Earth at all? Is it below you? He said, maybe it is, but I haven't seen it since I went into the tunnel. Do you sense you are still connected to Earth for another dimension, perhaps? He said, that's a possibility, yes. My mind on Earth seems close, but I still feel connected to Earth, but I know I'm in another space. What else can you tell me about your present location? It's still a little murky, but I'm moving out of this. So that's kind of an example of the conversation. He's usually pretty good. He's pretty objective. Now, at the start here, he does tell him about going to a tunnel, which I don't know. But for the most part, his conversations with them, usually when they're going through this, are pretty objective. Kind of lets them go on. And it's kind of in this interview kind of, it's a case study, essentially, all of these different conversations with people. And I don't know. It's obviously very woo. Some would take it as very wacky, I guess. But are you not familiar with any of this stuff? Have you never read any past life regressions or anything like that, GALENTV?
Past life regression, no.
No.
No, this is all new to me.
It's all new woo.
Again, the Michael Newton experience firsthand here.
Oh my, yeah. It's definitely a it's something. I think some people obviously will read through this and take it very literally, and it very well could be objectively what happens. It could be an objective truth, and that he stumbled onto, but we don't know, right? And I think. There's a place you can go to called Zealot's Corner, where you can kind of get into the space where you think you know things, and that you're going to die on that hill for them, when really you don't know them as well as you think you do, right? And I think it's fine to be have your intuitions, but it's one of those things. It's an interesting perspective. I think metaphysically is one way that I look at his work. I don't know if I would even say I have an intuition. To some degree, it vibes with me, like just the over kind of arcing theme of, and in all the other anecdotes you hear about ghost stories or other cultures who spoke about these things too. And if this is a recurring theme that happens time and again, it's funny how, these concepts have kind of made their way into our world a little bit, where, I made this reference too, but like this kind of ethereal, cloudy place that he says this gentleman's ended up in too. And then you have like lots of pictures of the afterlife depicted being in the clouds. And I would personally try and describe that to maybe like, Anu or Zeus up in the clouds, and that was maybe like an ancient astronaut thing. I don't know, but maybe there's something else to it, right? Maybe it's some kind of recollection from some other place. And people been getting into altered states of consciousness since the beginning of fucking human history, eating mushrooms on the ground that were, psychoactive. And it was a common practice in many of our cultures in times past. Some cultures, it was a coming of age to engage with psychoactive substances and alter your state of consciousness. It was this rite of passage to become an adult.
The hunter-gatherer groups going around, as one guy eats mushrooms, starts losing his mind, and the other hunters go, well, I'll have what he's having. Is that how that went?
He's completely naked now, hanging off that tree. Like, what the fuck? Let's do this. Yeah. Guy's free spirit now. Yeah. And well, that's probably how it started, right? And then you have shaman.
Rite of passage makes sense. It'd be like, if you can't handle the mushroom, all right, we're going to have to kill you on the spot here, because you're not going to make it.
That's exactly.
You're not going to make it out there.
Yeah. You've got to go through. Well, in South America, the shamans had for hundreds, if not thousands of years, been doing the ayahuasca ritual, which you mentioned the name is inspiration of here, the site, which it was a rite of passage, really. And usually it was for like the warrior class, but you'd have to go through this rite of passage and people die. taking this substance, it's like every fucking year, people will literally just die of a heart attack because they can't handle it. And it was no joke, but it was this altered state of consciousness, and it was a regular part of many of our cultures. Psychics too were a regular part of our cultures up until very recently. This kind of age of rationalism came in, and we just kind of erased them out of our society or pushed them out, and said scientism came in really and said, well, no, there's no evidence for this, so therefore it doesn't happen. And like, that's a level of hubris that's fucking sickening. It's like, you know, it's like
just for like warriors, was it? In South America,
in some cultures, well, in other cultures too. I know shamans, or they would kind of induct certain classes of people in and train them, and that was one of the things.
They have like one guy who's up and coming, and they say like, "Look, you will be our general. Okay, you're far and away the best up and coming soldier we've got. This is just rituals, just a formality." Goes, takes it, has a heart attack, and they go, "Oh fuck! Now who's going to lead our army?"
Couldn't handle it. I don't know about this. I'm bow and arrow in D&D. I literally have had dreams of heaven that we call the happy hunting grounds. It's always sunny, no moon, no nighttime, and perfect. Man, is that a vision? Is that a vision of this place? Who knows? Is it different for everyone too? Is it a subjective thing? Who knows? It's very strange stuff. But I think it's this kind of it's this tapping into the unknown that we in our culture have kind of rationalized away a little bit, where it's like, oh, that's illogical. There's none of this. It's ridiculous. It's like, well, but there might very well be. That's the thing. And I think it's fear of the unknown too for people that sometimes are extremely adverse to this. So there's some people that will literally just criticize it and try to attack people for talking about these kinds of things, which I think the people like that definitely need to just greatly expand their horizons a little bit. Read some history too, actually, from different cultures that had seers and psychics, and stories and lessons learned from history. Like the arrogance, the hubris of people sometimes is frightening. So I mean, obviously I can be very critical of these areas too a little bit, and meme quite a bit about it. But it's one of those things. It's ultimately, it's whatever your perspective on it is what it is. I mean, I just choose not to be ignorant to it. I think it would be irresponsible and childish to be extremely ignorant to it, because there are so many stories of people, and who knows how true these stories are, but that it was life and death sometimes. These people were warned by psychics or forces or seers not to do a thing, and then they died, right? And they were just ignorant to those warnings. And I always like to bring up the Ojibwa story because it has to do with the comet catastrophe, because I like catastrophism. But the Ojibwa story of the long-tailed heavenly climbing star that periodically comes down and kills everybody in firestorms. And at the last time it came down, the seers and medicine men, they warned the people to go down to the bog, to roll in the bog, because this firestorm was coming from this object, this star that had appeared. And the people, there weren't many people that listened, but the few people that did lived and told the tale. They went down to the bog, they covered themselves in moss, and they covered themselves with the moss, and they survived. And the people that didn't died. And it's one of those things, it's like, again, don't be ignorant to mystical experience. It might fucking kill you. Might be a consequence. Dante's Purgatory, like a misty hollow place, maybe. Yeah. I mean, who knows what it's like. I mean, it's more this idea too, which is tantalizing and titillating, I think, that we could tap into this place. Like, this is a very old story here of humans trying to figure out the afterlife, or trying to know if there is one. And as we progress here and get more technological, and we have these different practices, and we start to incorporate, some science into this, or at least in Michael's case, some case studies at least. Techniques, maybe we're developing a technique to tap into this place. Is this possible? Right? Should we know these things? It's the other question, I guess. This is something that I've always thought should be experimented with more. Right? Same with remote viewings in other area as well. That's very woo. But a similar kind of thing where you're tapping into this very strange force, really, that can just know things, but is also kind of controlled. And people that do remote viewing will notice this, where sometimes they'll be outright blocked in doing things and they get hung up, or they'll notice like there's static on the line when they're trying to remote view something. And it's almost like someone literally is governing what they're seeing, what they're allowed to see, what they're not allowed to see. And it's very strange. And it's what does it represent? I guess it's the question. What do we do with this information ultimately? Necromancy. Dude, I'm Ojibwa.
Yeah. Well, that undoes our whole topic of necromancy.
Yeah. Oh,
it was a joke. It was a joke.
Are you actually Ojibwa? Tricky. Holy fuck, these guys don't tell me nothing. Mostly just bear walker jokes and Nana Bozo stories. Are you actually? Holy fuck. Are you from Ontario?
Nana Bozo. That's funny.
Yeah. Are you from Ontario, Tricky, or are you from that area? Probably south of Ontario, too. You'd be from there, too. Fred Pine was the guy who told that story, by the way, Tricky. Are you actually? Yeah, Fred Pine was one of the elders. He told it to Thor Conway, who's I think he's a Norwegian anthropologist, but he'd worked with them for decades. And I came upon his work in Graham Hancock's book, actually. And that story Graham mentioned in his book. I'd since went and looked up some of Thor's work on this as well. He had an expanded description of the story of the long-tailed heavily climbing star. But it's very similar to other objects depicted through Mesopotamia. Put it that way. Yeah. Yeah, man. Oh, that's fucking sick. Well, there you go. It's one of the most detailed descriptions, actually, of said object that might be mentioned through many other cultures. Actually directly causing a cataclysm, which is usually just hinted at or implied sometimes. But that story that Fred told, that he was handed down, we know many Native American cultures have a deep oral history and tradition of carrying stories down. That one intrigued me and Graham, which is why I put it in his fucking book, because he was on this bend about catastrophes and firestorms. In that book, Magicians of the Gods, he was talking about the Younger Dryas hypothesis. At the end of the last ice age, there was a giant firestorm and a flood. And you can actually see this, not to get off topic here, but you can see it's called the black mat layer. You can see this literally in the soil right there. That's it right there. That black stuff there in the ground is the black mat layer, and the black mat layer is burn. There was a massive firestorm that hit almost all of North America, and I think it went into Northern Europe. But like everything was on fire. So, and supposedly, according to the Ojibwa, this was caused by a comet. What?
Here we go.
Well, we're not going here. Well, listen, hopefully this isn't how we all end up in the afterlife this time. Fucking in another similar kind of situation. But yeah, this is extremely intriguing. And what was that object? That's the $1 million question. Long-tailed, heavily climbing. I got my image here.
Cool. You can actually like see the line there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the layer.
Oh yeah. It's about 12.9 Ka. So it's about 13,000 years ago, roughly. It's hard to know for sure. It could be a couple thousand years difference in there, maybe like. So around 11 to 13,000 years ago, there was a giant firestorm that happened that burned everything. Now, was that it's pretty crazy to think, though. Sorry not to interrupt you, GALENTV, but that Ojibwa story, if that is the same thing, that survived that many fucking years. Maybe it was more recent. It's hard to say, but yeah.
If you'll allow me to ask my George Norrie question here.
Let's hear it.
Now, what about the older Dryas? Was there an older Dryas? Is it in the Dryas home?
Well, so yeah, actually there is. So the Dryas is a flower. So the Dryas is a flower that grows in tundra-like conditions, cold regions. So the younger Dryas implied, I think, an earlier one, an earlier catastrophe. There is, I think, an older Dryas, which would go, if I'm correct, if I'm right here, yes. So you can see here, your younger Dryas was about 12 to 13,000 years ago. The older Dryas is about 14,000 years onward. So there were these meltwater pulses. Now, I'm not going to be the expert to convey this information, but there's like 3 or 4 cycles of catastrophe when you go back through the ice core samples, it looks like, where you've got like, sorry.
Is there in fact an elder Dryas too?
Yes, there probably would be. Yeah. So there's
I can't stop me on this one. I'll give up.
You can keep going here. This is the thing. You can go 11 to 12,000 years for one. You can go 14 to 15,000 for another bout of flooding. Then 18 to 19,000 years ago, there was another shift that had happened. But the younger Dryas was like the craziest drop, essentially, that had happened, as you can see designated by the graph here. But there was a couple cycles of it, which was very interesting. But there was one that was really fucking bad, which was the younger Dryas, which actually here you see some Dryas flowers growing there. That's what they look like. But it was really, really bad. And there's a whole bunch. There's flooding. There's firestorms. There's all this shit.
Go back to the graph for a second.
Yes.
It's that graph that you said. So that's measured. That's time would be on the x-axis, of course.
Temperatures on the y.
Yeah, and temperature's on the y because temperature would be dependent on, x is usually independent variable. So if there's a big drop off now, how long have modern humans been around? You'd say about 10,000 years, 12,000 years.
Modern humans? Anthropomorphically correct? It could be hundreds of thousands, maybe.
Well, since we made like civilization here,
6,000 since Sumeria. That's the first civilization.
Now I noticed that the temperature went up a little bit during that time. Does this in fact confirm man-made climate change here?
Well, actually, GALENTV, this is an example against that claim to some degree. Because when you notice, we know this, we've gone over this before. But to the far right, you see that tiny little squiggle of a line. That tiny little squiggle is our civilization here in the West.
That would be like the Industrial Revolution.
That's exactly what it is. That's our impact. Now, when you go back even 1,000, you see a giant fucking dip.
Yep.
And that happened independent of any effect that we've had on the environment. Now, that's not to talk about a runaway amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, which could objectively be a problem. That's nothing to do with pollution. But in terms of climate shifts, it goes to show how little of an impact we've actually had. Now, so we're concerned about 1 to 2 degrees shifting. When you go back a couple thousand years, it's been like 4 to 5 fucking degrees shifting easy. When you go back to the younger Dryas, you can see a shift here in degrees that's like ridiculous, like 15, 20 degree shift, which is apocalyptic. There was 12,000 years ago, a 2012, the movie level apocalypse that happened on planet Earth. And that's like something a lot of people haven't digested, I guess, which probably is for the best because that's not a long time ago. And when you read the stories, that's when things get more interesting because some of them appear to imply a cyclical nature to these cataclysms. And there's in some of them is a culprit as well, a comet, a big comet, big wings. Anyway, not going to get into it.
Planet-sized comet?
Well, I mean, planet size, something large enough that,
perhaps even many sizes of the planet Earth.
I don't know. That's the thing. What could they be pointing to, right? What can they be pointing to? That's the question. And again, there's a lot of correlation between some Native American, iconography, and some depictions around Mesopotamia of certain objects like crosses within circles, and those being related to winged discs, and these winged discs being mentioned by the Ojibwa as a long-tailed heavenly climbing star. So, there's a theme that you run into as you go through all of this, that is there one object in particular responsible cyclically for some kind of disturbance on Earth? that is mentioned everywhere, and we have yet to figure out. Yeah. Yes, it does, Tricky.
Oh, is it? I thought it was like 2029.
Yeah, I think it's around 2030, actually. It's coming around. Maybe they changed the arrival date.
2030. That sounds awful suspicious.
That's
what I've been told.
So
there'll be the apocalypse.
The going hypothesis is that potentially the culprit is in fact the Taurid meteor stream, which that's the Comet Research Group that put forward the Younger Dryas hypothesis. That we pass through it twice a year, actually. We're going to pass through it again here in another month. Now,
we did that. There was like a meteor shower that you were supposed to be able to see a couple months ago, I think. So that might have been the first time we passed.
That was the first time, and the second time is in October, I believe. That is not this object. I don't. Now, what is my opinion worth on this objectively? Not very much, probably. But I mean, if for whatever reason I place a bet and I get it right, then that might change. But is it just luck then? I don't think that fits the narrative here with what's depicted and what's talked about by many of these different ancient cultures throughout the planet. I think there's one object in particular they're pointing to, and that's obviously way more schizo than the Taurid meteor stream, because you get into the fact that there might be a very large object. Now obviously not implying it comes into the inner solar system. As some have implied, like Sitchin and Co. and others, but that somehow they may have had knowledge of this object, and it somehow has an effect on planet Earth, probably by throwing stuff at it. So we're still at the peak of sunstorms. Yes, and that's another problem too. And that could very possibly be so. Robert Schoch, who's a geologist, his opinion is that what caused the Younger Dryas could have been a giant solar eruption. That there was lots of stories from ancient cultures too of upper atmosphere, crazy displays, he thinks, of lightning in the upper atmosphere, lightning everywhere. And that some of these nanodiamonds are finding all over North America, which they think are impact sites or evidence of a large impact, may in actual fact be large lightning strikes that struck on the continent. All over the planet, actually. And lightning strikes can also create nanodiamonds. And that potentially there was some kind of electromagnetic fucking apocalypse that happened due to a giant solar storm. And people talk, this was the thing that did the Younger Dryas. Now, again, there are other stories from other cultures mentioning a comet and a comet being responsible for this. Plato actually mentions this in the Timaeus, I think in the Critias. There's one, though, that he goes into great detail on and recounts supposedly something the Egyptians had in their Hall of Records at Alexandria that was probably later lost, but that they knew what caused this destruction periodically. They had an idea. They knew at the very least that there were periodic destructions that occurred, and there was a cause to them. And they had pointed to this cause being a comet as well in the works of Plato. They used the story of, Phaeton. The story of Phaeton was one of the stories that they had mentioned that it was representative of this object. It was a comet that caused the catastrophe. So, there's some fairly grounded sources to suggest this academically. You can say it's in the distant past and they're contentious, and you can argue against them, but again, it's a mystery you're threading together here. Who knows, right? One way or the other. Yeah, Sir Alexandria knew. Yeah, I know all the scrolls. Well, whoever was a part of organizing and setting up that civilization there. Right? In Egypt. Same with Mesopotamia and many of these other civilizations. Was there a group of people that were actually directly involved in that, and what did they know? Right? Or what did the Egyptians themselves just come to know? Right? But the idea there is that the records go back to a time when the gods walked among them. Right? Zeptepi is what the Egyptians called that time. And Zeptepi was a time when the gods walked among the Egyptians, and that some of this knowledge maybe had been from these people who maybe came from another place on the planet that were more advanced than us. And then that gets into this whole talk about Atlantis. And how did they know about these cycles? Let's say the cycle of catastrophes every 12,000 years. How did they know that this happens every 12, 13, 14,000 years? right? They weren't around. Well, somebody from that time or someone back from a time before had records knowledge of this because they're more advanced, and they passed that down to them, and then this all got lost. So, well, yes, they burnt it because they're a bunch of fucking assholes, essentially, right? War.
They're a bunch of assholes. How dare they hide that information?
If we're not going to know it, neither are you anymore. Now it's on fire. Goodbye. We underestimate how fucking dickish people have been throughout history. And that's the other thing too, but this whole lost ancient fucking astronaut or ancient advanced civilization narrative. Man, if you don't think that some motherfucker at spite would break all that shit, right? You got another thing coming, right? So,
it's like you thought people were petty today. Ooh, boy.
Where's the Ark of the Covenant? Melted down into someone's fucking cutlery kit. That's where it is now. Fucking probably like, oh, that's nice. Fucking everybody take a piece of this fucking thing. Melted it all, probably piece of high technology, probably radioactive. Fucking take it all apart, melt it down into spoons and forks and shit. It's like I could eat my dinner with the Ark of the Covenant. It's like, are people that dumb? Yeah, they are. Like, again, you don't think people did that? Give me a fucking break. 100% they did, right? 100% they'd be that fucking ignorant to do something like that. I wouldn't even surprise me in the least. You know, I was watching, this is off topic GALENTV, but I kind of not really. Have you heard of this before? So there was this, and you've read Plato's works. I don't know if you remember. I vaguely remember this, but it's called orichalcum. You ever heard of orichalcum?
Yes.
So
I have.
Yes, it was mentioned by Plato that this civilization from this place of Atlantis worked with this metal called orichalcum. So orichalcum was something that was close to gold. It was like a bastardized. It was like a gold. It's like you wouldn't want to actually cover your palace in gold. Right, because someone would just chip it off.
It's not strong enough to build with.
No, even plated. So what they made was this metal called orichalcum, which looked like gold, but was more resilient. And anyway, he had speculated about this rare metal that was made by these people called orichalcum. So did you know? I think I'd heard this offhand a couple years ago, but didn't really look into it. They've been finding ingots of this shit off the coast of Italy for like the last 10 years.
Really?
They actually found orichalcum. Yeah. Yeah. Believe it or not. People that don't know that. So orichalcum right here. Here it is right here. Here are the pieces of it here. This is it. Lost metal of Atlantis. This is a real thing. So this is literally orichalcum here. This is what it looked like. It almost looks like fool's gold is what it kind of looks like. But this was a metal mentioned by Plato that supposedly this civilization had crafted. These were ingots they had found in a ship from like 2,000 years ago that had sunk. So they were trading in these ingots. So you can see orichalcum. They call it numismatics is a term orichalcum is used for exclusive to a type of brass alloy used for minting Roman as Cerestius Dupondus semi-types coin. It is considered more valuable than copper, of which the as coin was previously made. So it's stronger than copper and resistant to tarnishing. Orichalcum was a metal that closely resembled gold, although its value was inferior. So this was mentioned and coined though by Plato ultimately. And this ore that they were finding on ships was from they thought, here's the reasoning. So I think this is, I got to remember correctly what was brought up, and we'd have to independently verify this or not. So there is a component in here, which I think is the zinc that is imbued into this metal. Now, so there's a problem with people back in the day actually manufacturing this metal. I think it's the zinc that we didn't figure out how to get and refine zinc out of the rock until I think like, the 1500s maybe, or the 1400s. And they found ingots of this shit over 2,000 years ago made out of this zinc. So how did that happen? that they were using these ingots to make coins, to make shields, to make all this stuff. But they didn't know how to refine zinc. At least we didn't think they did. So where did it come from? Who was minting it? Like, not who was minting it, sorry. Who was making it? Who was making the orichalcum? And how? And so that's a bit of a conundrum, right? Either they knew more about metalworking.
It's over in Skyrim. They're pretty talented with it.
Yeah, there you go. I was gonna say there's the orichalcum right there, or that the orcs use. It shouldn't have been the orcs. Should have been the fucking high elves, probably tied to orichalcum. Because anyway, yeah, was not produced on a large scale until the 12th century. Sorry, 12th. Yes. There you go. So how did they mint all of these ingots with zinc, or make them with zinc? That was one of the conundrums they brought up on the fucking Ancient Aliens episode. I did do a little bit of looking up on this and said it is a conundrum. Now, one of the possible explanations is that they just knew how to do this and we didn't know they knew how to do this. It's that simple, really. But it's a complicated process that, from all of the other anecdotes we found from, blacksmiths and whatnot, from Greek and Roman times, they didn't know how to. So then this ore was revered for a reason, or these ingots are revered for a reason, because potentially it was a method of creation out of it that we didn't know how to do. Hence why we revered it, right? And that this literally came out of this civilization that was lost. And that they're that old, maybe. Would be no way, I don't think, to carbon date them. I mean, they're found on ships at least 2,000 years old, but it looks cool. And it's funny because, again, this was mentioned by Plato, and they had supposedly, in Plato's works, I can't remember if it's the Critias or the Timaeus that he mentions this, but that the city of Atlantis was covered in this shit. That it was almost every building was covered in orichalcum. Glistened like gold. The blue one on the left is from Atlantis Disney movie. Still the last. No, isn't actually it. Right here. Fuck. Oh, right here. Yeah.
Have you not watched that yet?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't sat down yet. Maybe I will later on. Who knows? But yeah.
Do you suppose that's what the lost city of gold was? It was really the lost city of orichalcum?
Maybe that could be it. Yeah, it wasn't gold. It was orichalcum. Well, literally, according to Plato, that's what it was. It wasn't made of gold. Like you think of. Well, this is funny too. Have you heard this before or no? This is another theory. So El Dorado, right? Do you know the story about El Dorado?
Briefly. I don't think so. No.
So
El Dorado is the city of gold, is it?
Yes. And okay, so just think about this for a second. Okay, Plato. So I'll go over the city of El Dorado here briefly. I'm going to butcher this. People that know this will know I'm butchering this to some degree. But so the Atlantis supposedly was covered in orichalcum. Plato. This modified brass, essentially, right? Right? So it looked like it was gold. So there was a fucking ad. Get it here. So there was this story, right, of El Dorado. It came out of somewhere in South America, South Central America. I think it was Central America, actually, and told by the native peoples there that there was this place. So get this. People that know the story of Atlantis know this. It had concentric rings, right, of land, water, and it glistened like gold, right? Now, this is in Central America. This story came out of, right? And this story would go back a long time, right? So there wouldn't have been any cross-contamination with Plato, right? Who was in Greece. So the natives of, I think it was Central America where the story came out of, described, and actually, if you look at the story, depicted a city eerily identical to what Plato described Atlantis as. Okay? Let me look up a picture of El Dorado. Now, what's going to come up? If I can find this. What's going to come up is something. Oh yeah, it's all bullshit. But the original depiction was something very close to Atlantis with the actual stories. So now here's the theory with Atlantis, right? That some might have. Well, here's what Plato literally said, actually. So after the city fell, well, not, this isn't literally what he said, but after the city fell, survivors scattered out of the city. And those survivors scattered to all of these different cultures. So they're in the center of the Atlantic, right? Okay. So Google Earth, right? Google Earth, right? No, that's Google. So they're right in the center of the Atlantic, according to Plato. They have a cataclysm, and these survivors by boat scatter from here to, where do they go? Through here. Portugal, Spain. Oh, guess where else is up here? Ireland. The Tuath de Nauten, right? Tall, fair-haired people, right? Come into this area, right? The United Kingdom, giants built Stonehenge, right? Then they also come to France, Italy, Greece. They make their way down to Egypt, right? Now, the other place that they could go, right, is actually they show up here, right, to the Native Americans. And there's stories all throughout Native America of these large people that came over, and the gods that came and showed them, you know, agriculture, or they didn't really have agriculture, I guess, but to some degree they did. And then down in Central America, you have similar stories as well. You've Quetzalcoatl, who came in by boat and enlightened these people. And they the story of El Dorado, of this glistening city of gold, right, surrounded by water. So what if you were one of the bloodlines? Well, we all would be. That's the thing, though, right? With this hypothesis, every single one of us is a part of that fucking bloodline, right? That's
they got around more than Genghis Khan did.
They would have gone around more than Genghis Khan, yeah. And then that's the idea. So that's an interesting connection between El Dorado and Atlantis, is that it was covered in this orichalcum. It was glistening in what looked like gold. Wasn't actually gold. It was a bastardized gold just for display, right? According to Plato, we did find likely the material that was made, which is in and of itself a bit of a conundrum. So it's one of those things, again, it's like you could try and explain it away and say, oh, well, they probably figured out a way to do it. It's like, well, maybe, but that's a hell of a coincidence, right? So it's one of those ancient mysteries, right? That's just so tantalizing and titillating, and just leaves you wanting more, right? Like mountain copper. There you go. Yeah. Copper gold. Yeah. Yeah. So very interesting shit. Obviously this isn't the afterlife, though, is it?
Well, maybe the afterlife uses real gold instead of orichalcum, and orichalcum can only be used here on Earth because we don't have true gold. We only have, you know, lesser gold. We
got that beta gold, that beta shit. Fuck. Yeah.
I guess so.
Like there's some other examples.
I think they're so good up there in heaven, up there in the afterlife, using their real gold. Yeah. We'll show them. We'll make our own gold.
That's the thing. Well, that's exactly right. So maybe that's a whole TLDR of this, is that we don't have the questions. You get over there on the other side.
You know what? We'll make our own afterlife here. That's what we'll do.
There you go. Our own heaven. Start a cult. Yeah. There you go. That's exactly it. Start a cult, and you try and create your own heaven on earth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the plan? Well, I guess we'll have to fucking find out, won't we? So, yeah. Yeah, no, don't do it. Well, you know, it's one of those things. There's that financial incentive to do it, right? Live in a commune, right? Everyone wears robes.
But do you have the comment that Rabbit made? I think someone made a screenshot of it.
Oh, are we in a cult?
Are we a cult?
Not yet. Not yet. No. If I grow my hair long again and I come wearing a white robe and say I met with them, right? If you see my hair starts growing out again, right? And I start talking about how like I had a conversation with them, just leave, guys. Just go. Just get out of here while you fucking can. Just get the fuck out of here while the going's good, right? Because things are gonna get fucking weird.
Church of Jim. Yeah. Oh, praise be thy Nibiru, making the rounds through our solar system.
Doomsday cult. Yeah, it's coming soon. Trust me. Just another $30. So I need to buy another WoW token. Ran out of gold again. Yeah. Yeah, fuck. Yeah.
You're just gonna need another service where I take all your money, and then I'll give you the approximate date.
Yeah,
I've got the updated date now. Just gonna need all the funds again.
It's coming. Yeah, new date, new book with new locations coming soon. Hopefully, bestsellers, New York Times. Make lots of money, live life. Yeah. Fuck. Anyway, yeah, that's fucking just the way that it goes. It's the way it fucking is, right? Oh yes. Anyway, yeah, everybody. Well, thank you for coming around. I guess we kind of talked about the afterlife, didn't we, GALENTV? We started talking about orichalcum for fuck's sake.
That's how the conversation goes. We kind of started with the concept of death, and then it just kind of naturally segues into cataclysm, which then segued into Atlantis.
That's what happened to Atlantis, though, right? It's like, yeah, more next. Man, we absolutely will, man. Yeah, Devin Armis, you know Michael Newton's work very well too, right? And Dolores Cannon, I had her up here as well. It was another one I was going to get into, actually, where the fuck she went. There you go. Conversations with the Spirit. Yeah. So everybody, yeah, as always, thank you for coming around. And we will see you again soon. I will see you again tomorrow night, probably. I will be on tomorrow night. So everyone, until next time, and GALENTV, thank you for coming around as always.
Thanks, sir. Thanks for having me again. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the both of us.
Yes. See you soon.
Streaming through the digital night, Jim Bustle, he's guiding the light, unveiling mysteries of the unknown, UFOs in the alien zone. He's a man on a mission, exploring ancient secrets, it's his addiction, debating, discussing with his loyal crew, cosmic conversations, unveiling the truth.